Okay, guys, so today we are going to read chapter 5 and 6 and half of chapter 7. So then tomorrow we can finish chapter 7 and then read the last 2 chapters. All right, so chapter 5 is called Practicing. And remember, Miss Gutzman just gave her gloves to take home to practice wearing them. All right, after school, I ran home from my bus stop. It was Mother's Day off from work. She was in the backyard playing with my baby brother named Ollie. Ollie is 10 months old. He cannot skip or play tag or color. So far, I don't really like him that much. I ran out of the back door. "Mother, Mother, I'm going to be a helper," I shouted. I handed her my permission slip. "Read this paper. Hurry, it's from Mrs. Gutzman. Remember Mrs. Gutzman? Mrs. Gutzman used to be the cookie lady last year, but this year she's branched out apparently, because now she's the boss of the whole kitchen operation, I think." Mother read the permission slip. I bounced up and down, very excited. "See, Mother? See? Mrs. Gutzman wants me to be her helper in the cafeteria tomorrow. All you have to do is sign the paper and we'll be set." I started back to the house. "I'll go get you a pen." Mother hollered, "Hold on to me. This sounds like fun, Junie B, but let's talk it over at dinner, okay? And then at dinner you can tell Daddy and me all about it." I did a big breath. I don't want to talk it over at dinner, Mother. I want you to sign that paper right exactly now. Please, just sign it, okay?" Mother smiled. "Patience, Junie B. Dinner is just a few hours away." "I'd like Daddy to be in on this too." I rolled my eyes way up at the sky. "'Cause Daddy always has to be in on everything." Finally, I went back into the house and I walked around the kitchen very bored. "There's not even anything to do in this house," I grouched. Then, all of a sudden, I spotted my backpack sitting on the floor. And that's when I remembered my plastic mitts. I'd put them in my backpack to carry them home from school. I hurried home to get them out of there. And then I quick put them on and I ran to the refrigerator. "Now I can practice touching food," I said, real thrilled. I opened up the door and started touching stuff. First, I touched some fruit and an avocado and a tomato. Then I put my hand in the butter and also some creamy cottage cheese. "Whoa, these mitts make touching food enjoyable," I said. After I was done, I put the mitts in my pocket and I went to watch TV. But I couldn't even pay attention that good because I kept on thinking about being a helper, of course. My excitement got bigger and bigger. Then, hooray, Daddy finally came home from work and it was time for dinner. As soon as I sat down, I told Daddy all about Mrs. Gutzman. Then, surprise, I put on my mitts and I waved them all around in the air. "Look, Mother, look, Daddy. See what Mrs. Gutzman gave me? These are real professional mitts from the actual cafeteria." I sat up straight and tall. "Mitts do not spread dirty germs," I explained. "And guess what? I already know how to use them." After that, I quick jumped down from the chair and ran around the table and I touched everyone's dinner. I touched Mother's meatloaf, and then I touched Daddy's mashed potatoes, and then Ollie's corn. Also, I put the corn on Ollie's head. That was a funny joke, I think, but no one laughed. Mother quick took my mitts away. Look at the look on her mom's face. She is not happy. And there's Junie B putting the corn on poor Ollie's head. She said, "That is not what mitts are for, young lady." At first, I thought I was in very big trouble, but more good news. When Mother and Daddy tucked me in bed that night, they gave me back my permission slip, and hooray, it was signed. "We're going to let you help in the kitchen, but no more funny business with those mitts, Junie B, okay?" "Got it?" "Got it," I said. "A helper doesn't make things more difficult, Junie B. A helper makes things easier, okay?" "Okay," I said. Mother made her eyes real serious. "And a helper is not the boss, Junie B. Maybe you should try repeating that one. A helper is not the boss." I repeated it. "A helper is not the boss," I said. "A helper is not the boss." After that, Mother and Daddy looked calm. They kissed me goodnight and they turned off my light, and I repeated it one more time. "A helper is not the boss," I said. But then I closed my eyes and I went to sleep and I dreamed I was the boss. Okay, chapter 6 is called Boss of Lunch. This was the funnest dream I ever had. I looked just like Mrs. Gutzman, but I had my own face and my own apron and plastic mitts and my very own hairnet. It was a vision, I tell ya. I worked my hardest in the kitchen. I washed all the carrots, I made all the hoagies, and I ate all the sugar cookies. After a while, room 1 came into the kitchen with their trays. The children saw how hard I was working. They called me Boss of Lunch, and they skipped around me in a happy circle. After that, they carried me all around on their shoulders. May did not participate. I waved at her when I went by, and then a duck flew in and chased her out of the room. That morning, I woke up laughing into my pillow. And guess what else? At school, my day just got better and better. I gave Mr. Scary my permission slip, and he let me go to the cafeteria at 10 o'clock a.m., so I hardly even had to do that much schoolwork. Mrs. Gutzman was delighted to see me again, and she said I could start helping her very soon. But first she wanted to show me around the kitchen. It was the hugest kitchen I ever even saw. It was a kitchen a giant would have. Look at how big everything is, Mrs. Gutzman. Look at that dishwasher, and the big refrigerators, and the big sinks, and the big giant freezer. I kept looking. And look at that big can opener, and this big floor we're standing on. And look at these big walls, and the big light switch, and those big... Mrs. Gutzman interrupted me. Okay, let's move on, shall we? She said. I would like for you to meet some of the other folks who work here, Junie B. After that, she took me over and introduced me to 6 grown-ups. I waved at them kind of shy. They waved back. Plus, also, they said welcome. But here's the best part of all. After I met all the people, Mrs. Gutzman opened up a big drawer, and she handed me a giant white apron. My mouth fell open at that hugey thing. You mean I get to wear this, Mrs. Gutzman? I get to wear an apron like yours? Wowie, wow, wow, this is a dream come true. Mrs. Gutzman winked at me. Well, we sure don't want you to mess up that pretty flower dress of yours, do we? She said. After that, she pulled the apron over my head and she tied straps around me. There's that picture. I looked down to the ground. The apron came down to my shoes almost. I twirled and twirled all around. I love this apron, Mrs. Gutzman, I said. This apron makes me feel like a princess. Mrs. Gutzman said I had a good imagination. After that, I put my mitts on that she had given me and I twirled some more. Now I have the whole complete outfit practically, I said. And then, what do you know? All of a sudden, she reached in her apron and she pulled out a hairnet. A hairnet just for me? She put it on my head. Oh boy. Thank you, Mrs. Gutzman, I squealed. I zoomed to the oven and stared at myself in the glass. Look at me, just look at me. I look like a real professional lunch maker, I said. After that, I stared and stared at myself some more, and I just couldn't even stop. Okay, chapter 7 is called Jobs, and I'm going to read half of it, and then we'll finish the rest tomorrow on Friday, okay? All right, pretty soon, Mrs. Gutzman told me all about my jobs. You're going to have 3 fun jobs today, Junie B, she said. I think you're going to like all of them. She took me to the counter where the children push their lunch trays, and she showed me where the napkins go. Your first job is to keep the napkins stacked up right here on the countertop. If the napkin piles start to run out, you can just reach under the counter and grab more, okay? Do you think you can do that for me, Junie B? I nodded real fast. Yep, I said. I know I can do that, Mrs. Gutzman, because I am familiar with napkins. I smiled real proud. I use napkins at my very own house. I use them to wipe my mouth after dinner, and sometimes I also use my sleeve. Mrs. Gutzman looked funny at me. After that, she handed me a sponge and took me to the counter by the sinks. Okay, your second job will be to keep this big counter wiped off. You don't have to clean up any big messes, Junie B, just any little spills or crumbs you might see. I grinned. There she is with the napkins. And there she is, wiping things down. All right, so tomorrow we will finish this book.